Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin Van Churen.
My name is Patrick Ferry.
And guys, welcome to our show. So guys, we're back again this week, and Pat, we got some more up and down performances from players to talk about this week, and most of them in the Bundesliga.
That's right, Austin. It seems like we're talking about more or less the similar players, which again is not a bad thing, but is also exciting too in the next coming weeks here. And we're in the month of June that Spain and the Premier League in England will be opening. I think along with a few others. I know obviously France isn't happening, that's canceled, but it's nice to see some more leagues coming on, more players to talk about soon.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get Christian Pulisic back, because before this whole thing happened he was out injured, so this break's kind of been nice for him to get him reintegrated with that Chelsea squad. So there is hope to see him again before the end of this season. But getting into our episode today, we want to talk about a player who is having another frustrating performance this week at the top of the Bundesliga.
And another American with a strong showing off the bench over at Dortmund.
And then finally, a player who's been struggling this season, but actually had another promising performance this weekend. So all that and more in today's episode. So to start today's episode, we're going to look at Tyler Adams' performance this weekend. And, Pat, again, it was another kind of up and down day for Tyler. So to start off, we had, Tyler starting in midfield for Leipzig in their game against Paderborn. And obviously, this is Paderborn, the bottom of the Bundesliga team. So, this was a good chance for Tyler to kind of to boss the day and really show Julian Nagelsmann why he deserves to play in midfield. So unfortunately, it didn't really go that way. Leipzig went up 1-0 early in the first half, I think in the 27th minute, thanks to a Patrick Schick goal. And then right before halftime, something else happened where Dayot Upamecano went off with his second yellow card. So he got sent off. Leipzig were down to 10 men. And in the first half, Tyler was his usual self, running around the pitch, making a nuisance of himself in defense. And I thought he was doing an okay job of connecting play and playing possession. So, not a bad performance, but not a spectacular performance. And then going into the second half, Leipzig, because they were down to 10 men, kind of switched their formation. They went to 3 at the back to, kind of supplement losing Dayot Upamecano. And in doing this, they moved Tyler out to the right wing back position. So unfortunately, we had to see Tyler play in that right wing back position for the second half of this game. And, kind of like we said all along, Pat, this season, when he plays in that position, he just was not as involved in the game, wasn't really able to affect it. And that's not so much, a slight on him. It's just kind of the byproduct of being, on the wing or on the side of the field instead of being in the middle of the field. And so the second half, again, Leipzig were playing down a man, so they were kind of chasing the game a little bit. Paderborn, again, aren't the best team. And, it didn't really seem like that in the second half. And Paderborn was able to come back at the end, get a goal in extra time, which was, to be honest with you, it was kind of deserved. It was coming in the second half. So, that's disappointing for Leipzig and for Adams and just the fact that, this is a team that was in first place, Pat, right as the fall season came to a close in the Bundesliga. So
right.
Definitely disappointing for them to lose or to drop points against Paderborn and lose 2 points. This is not a team that they should be tying with or drawing with, even playing close to. So, that was disappointing. What were your thoughts on kind of the performance of Tyler this weekend and that result?
Right. Yeah. Again, I guess just in general, it was nice to initially see him at that midfield position where we want to see him. Unfortunate situation with yellow card accumulation and being shifted back and kind of asked to adjust the formation and fall back. But just all in all, again, not putting any blame on Tyler, just specifically, but the team as a whole has just come off really rusty. Not only Austin, we were talking off camera a little bit about this, but over the second half of the season here and the start of the winter in January, February, but
yeah,
throughout it, even now, past the coronavirus, where they just seem to have these lapses and they're just not in top form right now, and that might be due to some of the team changing and maybe chemistry is not completely there right now. It is unfortunate too that it does reflect when Adams does play on that outside spot where he's not able to impact the game as much or get involved in that way and use some of his really great strengths that he has as a player. So in that regards, again, it's not ideal. We would like to see him on the pitch there. We want to see him in the midfield, but again, like you said, he's very limited out there on the touchline.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like you said, it limits his game. It limits his effectiveness, and you could definitely see the effect he was having on the game in the first half. He was really running around and kind of disrupting play on defense, and that's his game. That's what he does. He's able to run and cover so much space in a game. So if you're tasking him with just sticking to one side of the field, I think it kind of hurts his mobility. But yeah, I mean, you could also look at it from the other side too, I guess, that, the coach trusts him to do a job. So, if he's the player that Nagelsmann thinks can kind of move around and do a lot of different things, that has some value, that has some merit. But again, on this show, we've kind of taken the stance that, we want to see him in midfield, and kind of like Weston McKennie, we didn't love seeing Weston McKennie play right back. We didn't love seeing him play center back just because, we think he has more ability than what can be shown in those two positions. So yeah, it was not the performance that Tyler Adams wanted and not the performance that Leipzig wanted, but it was good to see him start in the midfield, and hopefully we get to see him, get a chance here in this next game coming up for Leipzig. So,
yeah, that's right, Austin. I think that was well said there. And shifting over to Dortmund's game with Gio Reyna, came in, Austin, the 68th minute in a 1-0 win against Hertha Berlin. So great to see Dortmund get the win there. And just to highlight some, want to give a shout out to, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Austin, you can correct me, but Watke, I guess, has some great highlight videos that we've seen on Twitter that we're sharing. And again, just to kind of go off some of the highlights and just obviously in the game that we were able to see, Gio, like we've come to know, when he comes on, he makes a pretty solid impact with the amount of fouls he draws. His physical presence in his battles really stood out to me, and just the calmness, how he kind of moved with the team. And again, we don't want to use the football terminology, but kind of really understood Dortmund's game plan and really executed that well in terms of where he needs to be. When he was on the side of the pitch, when he kind of gravitated more towards the middle and kind of shifting with players. And he just seems very comfortable, Austin, getting used to these. I think it was his 4th consecutive substitute appearance. So it's great to see him getting on the field more and more. And kind of want to get your thoughts too on his this game and obviously the overall year he's had.
Yeah, I thought he played pretty well in this game. He keeps coming on the field in the second half of these games, and it's always in these. I mean, this game wasn't really a blowout, but it just always seems like when he comes on, Dortmund are kind of in that next phase of the game. They're not really
right. That's a good point.
It's just weird. I mean, this game maybe wasn't the best example of that, but I just feel like, that's kind of the one, again, knock, not to be too negative of this episode, but it leaves me wanting a little bit more from Gio. It seems like anytime he's on the pitch, we get to see like one good moment from him. And that's great. But I just feel like, if he had that opportunity to start against, who was it? Was it Schalke in the Revier Derby, right?
Yeah, right.
We're getting restarted again. I feel like this could be a lot different of a conversation because I feel like he could have taken that chance and kind of run with it. But I mean, so far, I think, his season's been very good. If you look at, like a 17-year-old player and just where he was last season, still contracted by NYCFC and, playing in the development academy. It's pretty crazy to see that kind of growth and rise. So, that's great. And I can't really fault him for anything else because I feel like he's so young still that, he'll have these growing moments moments where, he's not scoring or doing anything assist-wise, but, he is showing promise, and he's getting his feet under him in the Bundesliga. So, overall, I say, yeah, it's been a good season for him. I think, in these next 4 games, I'd really like to see him maybe make more of a statement in one of these games and kind of, we've seen moments of his, good play and just, what skills he has, but I would still just love to see him kind of really take over one of these games. And maybe that's asking too much right now for a 17-year-old, but I'm trying to push his limits a little bit.
Yeah, and I like that, Austin. It kind of segues pretty well in just pushing the limits and what's kind of next for that phase for him. We were talking about this too a little bit, but he has replaced Julian Brandt recently. I think this is the second consecutive time he has, but the way they were set up for this recent game was in more of that 3-4-1-2. But generally, at least since early part of 2020, has been that 3-4-3 formation, and obviously Eden's brother Thorgan Hazard has been there, and so it's very interesting to see. I want to get your take. I think next season it's a very possibility. Again, Julian Brandt's a great player. I don't really, and obviously with Royce coming back, but I think in terms of Hazard's area and spot, Gio could certainly surpass him in terms of overall raw talent, even though he is still very young. So I want to get your take on that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really pick a weak link in Dortmund's team at the moment.
Yeah, right.
I kind of agree with you, Pat, in that Thorgan Hazard is definitely, and maybe I should look at it the other way. Julian Brandt and Marco Royce and Jadon Sancho are just a level above Thorgan Hazard at the moment. So yeah, I kind of agree with you that Thorgan Hazard might be the player he should be looking at to say, or compare his performance to, and kind of be in a battle with. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. There's a lot of transfer speculation about Jadon Sancho, if he's going to move this summer. If not, if he moves, then maybe it's a replacement for Jadon Sancho. He comes in the starting lineup and can kind of do his thing and, get an opportunity there. But yeah, I think out of those players you mentioned, I think, Thorgan Hazard would definitely be kind of the player he should replace in the near future, or you should be looking to replace in the near future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Austin. I think, again, it's like you said, kind of pushing some more expectations on Gio, and I agree too. Just want to go back to your points. I'd love to see him maybe not score those wonder goals that come along once every now and then. That was amazing. But just like you said, maybe come on where maybe they're down 2-1, or it's a really critical point in the game, or just have that influence, like you said, and be able to make a huge impact where the other team, the opposing team, is very worried whether it's you starting or substituting on. Wow, this is going to be a very threatening player, so we have to mark him more, foul him a little more. So hopefully that will come with experience.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. So now we're going to move on to Josh Sargent. So Josh is a player who's been getting fouled a lot recently. And, I guess I should talk about his midweek game. So first he came on and played the final 29 minutes for Werder Bremen. And that was in their really disappointing 3-0 loss to Frankfurt. So again, Bremen have been struggling this year. So, that 3-0 loss on paper wasn't that surprising. But recently they've been playing, a lot more tough and been giving teams a hard time. So that was kind of, surprising from that standpoint. And then this weekend he started and played 76 minutes, and that was against Wolfsburg. And they ended up losing 1-0 in this game. So back-to-back losses. What was different in this game from games in the past is that Bremen played with 2 strikers instead of that front 3 that we've talked about, this year in Ja. And, I think that's really helped Josh. That style of formation really helps him have more mobility. And you could definitely see it in this game. They also played this formation against Schalke a few weeks ago when he had a good performance. And I think, it just helped him kind of find more space, get more open, and just be more of, the receiver in the, offensive part of the field, because a lot of times it's just Werder Bremen trying to get the ball up the field pretty quick. And Josh is really tasked with just doing a lot of the dirty work, tracking back, winning possession, and then linking play quickly. You could see that in this game. You had some nice linkage going forward. There was one really nice spin move he had later on in the second half to kind of get out of pressure and help his team get up the field. So that's been something he's been tasked with recently. In this game, he also had a nice shot. I believe it was in the first half. A ball kind of came to him right at the top of the box, and he went to go for the shot, but right at the last second, a defender dove in the way of the shot, and it went wide, or got deflected wide. So it was good to see him at least get a shot off, because that's something we haven't seen in recent weeks. But I think overall, it was another one of those scrappy performances from him, which is weird because he's not someone we really think of as a scrappy player, but that's kind of the way he's been playing recently. And I don't think it's bad. I just think, it's the way he's having to approach the game, because Bremen at the moment just aren't so good. So he's really just being tasked with doing a lot of defensive work, and then, just moving the ball quick and getting fouled a lot of times because, he's getting played in tough situations. I thought overall, Pat, this was more of a promising game than some of his recent games. And I think it was as good of a game, maybe not on paper, because he had, I think, a few key passes in that Schalke game, but it definitely seemed like a style of that game, just in terms of, what he was doing on the pitch. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, those are the kind of, like we've been saying, the cards he's been dealt with. And again, it was very, very great to see him with a more positive performance and impact. And again, some of those scrappy games that he's had, and again, Bremen's not a team with full possession, and they're not, Bayern dominating everybody. But again, I think maybe to see some light or some positivity from this is, really building out some of those. Like you said, he's not really known for being that scrappy player, but maybe developing some of those sides of the game can really help. And maybe this is translating it a little different here to the national team, but going over to some of those hostile CONCACAF areas where the refs kind of let things more go, or let more things go, excuse me. And then the players are very physical. So that side of the game could be beneficial. And just overall for his development, I think obviously we would all hope for him to, have a better situation right now. But again, like I said, the cards are kind of, what you're dealt, and it's how you handle that situation, how you kind of overcome those problems. So at least we're seeing some more positive, movement from Josh. And like you said, seeing a shot, which is pretty rare for the Bremen team in general. So
yeah, that was it was funny to see that, which that's what we want to see. So we were excited to see that and happy. But I agree with you. I think. And again, we keep saying it this season, I feel like, but the problem with Josh right now is not so much his technical part of the game. It's more just the mental side, and kind of the fatigue playing on a team like this can really do for you, and the lack of confidence it kind of, just the confidence it takes away from you, and kind of overcoming that. So I think, Josh is still a very skilled player, very talented player. He's just, going through a rough patch right now with the team that's going through a rough patch. So
right. And he's only 20, Austin. So, still pretty young.
Yeah. Still ahead of the curve. So, again, overall, I thought it was in a loss, I thought it was a good performance from him. And hopefully we get to see him, start again next week, because in my opinion, his performance was worth it. So
I'll be sure to check that game out. I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. So now I guess let's move on to our final player today.
That's right, Austin. Another player we'd like to talk about here, and we'd really like to see him one day start for the first team here. But that's Chris Richards over with Bayern too. So he played another 90 minutes in a 1-1 draw against Braunschweig, if I said that correctly, Austin. Mm-hmm. And again, this kind of puts them level on points still for third in Dry Liga. So again, the game was a little hectic, ended 10v10 with some wild fouls and reds. But just to highlight Chris Richards again from some of the Watsby clips there, he, similar to what we talked about in the last episode, Austin, some really good positions in the air, winning aerial duels, using his strength to really body off a few of his opponents. Is funny. You could tell, excuse me, in terms of just size and stature were a little smaller than Chris, who was easily able to shield them and boss them around a little bit, and had some really great sliding challenges, timed it perfectly. Some of those other points, which we touched on, I kind of want to ask you about this further, is there are a few moments, especially a goal too, that he was caught out a few occasions and he just looked a little slow to react, where the play had almost been happening. 2 passes went by and he was kind of scrambling around, head on a swivel, not really knowing where he was positionally. And then almost, again, not trying to be too harsh, but just kind of looked a little flat-footed, not very in a good athletic stance to get back and recover, and just looked very slow in a few moments. But nonetheless, still an overall pretty good performance for a young center back.
Yeah, it was cool seeing those highlights, because I watched the whole first half of this game, and I saw that moment you were talking about for Braunschweig's goal in the first half. Basically, he got caught upfield, kind of misread a ball, and where it was coming. I guess what do you want to call it? The angle of it, the direction of it, and yeah, it brought him way too far upfield, and the player got in behind the defense, and another player tackled him in the box. So. It wasn't, the penalty directly on Chris, but it was definitely kind of a byproduct of some poor timing on his part. So yeah, there was some of that in this game, but like you said, and like we've documented in the past, the passing was still there in this game. I thought this team kind of took it to Bayern 2 more than Ingolstadt. What was that? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
and they were kind of a more physical team. And kind of put him under pressure more. So I thought that was good to see, because, a few moments in the beginning, it was a little shaky, and I thought, he came out a little flat, but he definitely kind of rose to the occasion, at least more towards the second part of that first half. And I think it's good to see him get tested. Like you said, these were 2 teams at the top of the Dry Liga table over there in Germany. So, this will be some of the better competition he gets on the season. I think, it's good learning moments, but, I think he's rising to every challenge that Bayern have set for him so far. So I just want to see him continue to keep going.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Austin. I guess just thinking future expectations too, as we kind of wind down the season here. But for Chris, I think it would be really great just for his development and being able to kind of build on his strengths, as well as reading the game quicker, would be maybe seeing him in the 2 Bundesliga. So I want to get your thoughts on that quick.
Yeah, and I do have a little bit of, bad news to interject in here too. So I know I reported last week that I think it was Lucas Hernandez went down at halftime of Bayern's game. So, was speculating that maybe Chris was going to get a chance in training to move up, train with the first team, maybe make the bench for Bayern this past weekend. But unfortunately, they called up a 17-year-old center back.
I didn't even know that, Austin.
Yeah, I don't know the name. It escapes me right now, but I'm pretty sure it was a German center back. Just turned 17, was playing with, I believe, maybe with the U19s, but could have been playing with the U17s. So, definitely interesting to see. That means that player is a pretty good prospect if he's kind of jumping the pecking order. So, I'm saying that to say that, I think, the 2 Bundesliga might be the route Chris Richards has to go, which I don't think would be a bad thing, because, like I said, in this game, Eintracht Braunschweig is a team that, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, was in the Bundesliga. They're a team that's, been mostly in the 2 Bundesliga for as long as I've been following, just the Bundesliga in general and German soccer. So that was a team that, is up to the level, in my opinion, of a 2 Bundesliga club. And I think, if he plays in the 2 Bundesliga, I think it'll give him, just more experience. I think it'll help him hone his game a little bit more without as many eyes on him. And I don't think it would be a bad thing. So I'm kind of for it at this point, since it doesn't seem like he's going to crack into Bayern's first team. As fast as we're hoping.
Yeah, and that was a little, again, thank you for that knowledge too, because that was a little crushing to me. But again, it's not going to stop us. It's not going to stop Chris. So again, I think it would be really great. We've seen some solid American players over in the 2 Bundesliga and be able to kind of extend their careers. So again, we'll kind of see what Chris's career goes and continue his strong performances with Bayern too. But I think, Austin, let's head on over to quick kicks. All right, guys, you know it's my favorite time of the show here. I hope it's Austin's.
You know it.
It's none other than quick kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
So first on quick kicks, we have Erik Palmer-Brown, and Erik subbed in for the second half of Austria Wien's game where it ended 1-1. So, good to see Erik back on the pitch and, getting consistent time this year.
And heading over to the Hobros, Austin, Christian Cappis and Emmanual Sabbi both started, went to 90, and a 2-2 draw against Lingley. So that is the end of the regular season over in the Danish Superliga. So they are now into the relegation playoffs. So it'll kind of be interesting to see how that all plays out. We've seen some great performances from them to keep them in the first tier last season. So again, just want to quickly note an active shift from Sabbi, who had a shot cleared off the line. Really great to get that shot, but not the best execution. Nonetheless, he did draw a penalty to result in the goal. So we'll see how the relegation playoffs play out.
All right. Yeah, last year they turned it on in the relegation playoffs. So
that's right.
Yeah, hopefully that happens again. And going back to Germany, we have Michael Edwards. So the Wolfsburg center back is rumored to be making a move this summer to VfL Bochum in the 2 Bundesliga. So just want to throw that out there. Not confirmed or anything. And it was also unclear if it's a loan or a transfer. So hopefully we get to hear some more news about it. I think that's not a bad deal. Currently playing for Wolfsburg 2 at the moment. I believe he's 20 or 21. So, more game time for him at a higher level would be good in my opinion. And that's it for episode today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And don't forget to check out Instagrams, Twitter, all the social media we have, creating great content for you guys daily now as most of the leagues start to ramp back up. Yeah,
it's nice. We finally have some more content to be pushing out. It seems things have really dried up recently. So, looking forward to that. Can't wait. And hopefully we have some transfers too. We'll see what happens. But
that's right, Austin. It's been a very strange and unprecedented time and year. And again, like you said, with the transfers and everything picking back up, it's all kind of, having momentum to a rough 2020.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see the national team in 2020. But, if we don't, we'll wait till 2021. But then, coming up, we'll in 2026, we keep saying it. We got to book it for 2026.
Got to book it.
And that is one day we will win the World Cup.